Hi guys, what's up? So I'm back again with a new video. Now, I just wanted to have a little talk about a certain event that is likely going to happen in the next Mass Effect game. Now, we already know a few little bits and pieces here and there of obviously what's going to come, like with Mass Effect 4 or 5, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it 4 and that, but I'm not going to get into that again. I think I say this all the time I do on these videos. And we already know, Krogan Civil Wars coming, could be something like connected with this whoever like we saw in the last teaser that we got, who was like apparently N7, even though I don't think they really are N7, probably some kind of infiltrator, spy, like undercover or something like that, I don't know, or rogue N7 operative, I don't know. But it's just something I want to touch on, because it does seem very, very likely, and I've done videos on this before, that Mass Effect 4 is gonna take place in the Andromeda system. Now, just because it's in the Andromeda system doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna feature characters from Andromeda, but I personally think it will, and I think it should, because we didn't get Mass Effect Andromeda 2, so we never got that sequel, which I still would have liked to have seen, by the way. I didn't mind Andromeda, I thought it was still a good game. Not brilliant, but it was decent. And that, so I think it would have been good to have getting a little bit more of the Andromeda story. But I do think with the next Mass Effect game, and that because of certain characters and maybe certain elements of the trilogy are crossing over into the Andromeda galaxy / universe. Now, what I wanted to mention is, obviously on Mass Effect Andromeda, you play as Scott or Sara Ryder. Now, in Andromeda, there's aspects of Andromeda where you're on the Archiperion, if I remember correctly. I've only ever played through Andromeda twice, and that's obviously, my knowledge isn't absolutely spot on when it comes to Andromeda, by the way, because like I said, I've only ever completed the game twice. But on the Archiperion, you can go into, is it Alec Ryder's quarters, I believe, and that, or Pathfinder's quarters, like something like that, and you can actually find old audio logs of Liara. Now that is one of the few little elements and kind of crossovers going back to the trilogy, where, yeah, Liara isn't in Andromeda, but her voice is, I think you call it archive footage and that, but obviously it's because of audio, and I still don't think it's audio from the trilogy, if I'm correct. So, one of Sara or Scott Ryder, know of Liara to Sony, they know, or a legendary, Asari, a Prothean, expert, and that, and obviously really good reputation. Now, you have a whole situation, right, where we know with the next Mass Effect game, we know Liara is going to be in the next Mass Effect game. Now, what I what I'm kind of be interested to see when it eventually happens is, how would Scott and Sara Ryder react when they first meet Liara? And that, I mean, it would be so interesting that the reaction when they say you must be oh, you're Liara Tassoni and that, and depending on which Ryder you played as, or potentially, because in Andromeda, whoever you play as, the other Ryder is still stuck in cryo, and they don't wake up until near the end of the game. So eventually, I'm pretty sure that the other Ryder will obviously, the other sibling will be shown the audio of Liara by the other sibling, if that makes sense. So when they meet Liara and that, they'll be it's an honour to meet you and that, and then potentially getting to know the stories of what happens with Liara's archaeology dig sites and Prothean research and all that scientific work and everything, which would be so fascinating to from their point of view to know. And also Liara, from her point of view, would also have to like get to know the Andromeda universe, because obviously she's come from the Milky Way, so obviously she's not well known with basically another like galaxy. So that is going to happen, and that like if we do get like this major like full on crossover, and if they do incorporate like Scott and Sara Ryder, which in my opinion, if they don't do it, it's not the end of the world, but I do think it would be nice to have some form of connection with the first Andromeda game. So at least you're getting some form of like follow-up from the end of the first game. And that, but yeah, like obviously not everything to do with like Andromeda, but certain like aspects, and then like basically like the certain aspects of Liara, which is carrying over legacy of the trilogy into the Andromeda like galaxy for the next game, and then Scott and Sara carrying over like some of the follow-up of what happened like in Andromeda. So I do think it would be quite like interesting, like obviously like meeting. I mean, obviously, as Scott and Sara Ryder, whoever you play as, and that obviously it's not as good as like obviously if you're playing as like a shepherd, like in the trilogy. But I do think like whoever you play as, I do think Scott and Sara Ryder are interesting like characters, and that I mean that they eventually become a pathfinder to colonize new like worlds and stuff like. And that's like the whole thing as well, because in Andromeda, everyone who was on the arcs were people that left the Milky Way and went to the Andromeda like system. So, and this is like also why it like another like thing going back to why the trilogy is gonna like blend with the Andromeda universe, because at the end of Andromeda you hear about, I'm sure it was like the Quarians and that like arcs like looking to like reach out and that with like everyone and stuff and that. So I can't remember what the station's called on Andromeda, like where you stop at, which is like their version of like the Citadel. Is it the Nexus? Is it the Nexus? I can't even remember what it's called now. Jesus Christ! Honestly, my knowledge of Andromeda at the minute is terrible now. But you know what I'm talking about, like there's basically like the Andromeda's version like of the Citadel and that Aquarian like arc, and that carrying loads of Quarians like in Cryo was looking to like make contact and obviously join them. So eventually you could get that with the Asari, and Liara like could be one of them. So it will be fascinating when you get these crossovers coming into like play eventually. But when you finally get someone who's going to be a main character for the next game that was an iconic character in the trilogy in Liara, meeting like two of the main characters from Andromeda, and eventually like mixing with each other, like getting to know like one another, like like sharing stories and that like and everything, and obviously teaming up to deal with whatever the new threat's going to be like in the next Mass Effect game. So I find that like fascinating. But you guys know some of your thoughts in the comments down below. Like, how do you think Scott and Sara Ryder would react when they finally meet Dr. Liara Tassoni? And that, like, I think it would be like really good, and even like just basically like Liara would, even though she'll be obviously a lot older, but she'll still like act like she's a child, and she will still probably talk a lot and get very excited talking about her work, her research, and even like talking to like Scott and Sara about Shepard and saying how iconic and how inspirational like they were like as well and that. So all that would just be like really fascinating. I would definitely look forward to seeing that if they do incorporate all that into the next Mass Effect game, which I really hope they do. So yeah. But yeah, guys, like I said, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, like what you think of like what I've just been talking about, and how you think Scott and Sara Ryder would react when they first meet Liara in the next Mass Effect game. So yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it. And yeah, just thanks for the support on the shorts as always, and that. And I haven't done one of these videos for a while. Need to try and do one every so often. I still got a few gameplay videos. Might need to do some more recording at some point, and I'm still doing the daily shorts. basically of the Mass Effect lines, like who says this line, I think I've done about 33 so far. The goal is to try and do over 100. Now that's going to be a bit of a challenge, and that, so eventually I might end up doing like lines from the same characters again and that, but I'll try and do as many different characters from the Mass Effect universe as I can. I probably will do Andromeda ones at some point, but I'm mainly sticking to the trilogy, like at the moment. So I've done 33, but the goal is to try and do 100. So we've got a long way to go. So yeah. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, wherever you are, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take care and peace.